I would like to call to order this meeting of the Johnson County Council. It's a special meeting for June 3rd, 2024. Amy, would you do roll call, please?
Gary Burton,
Present.
Ron Deere,
Present.
John Myers,
Present.
Jonathan Myers,
Present.
John Mallard,
Here.
John Dittmers,
Here.
Melinda Griesmer.
Here.
We're going to forego the formalities of a normal meeting, so we're going to jump right into the agenda. Our first item of discussion on the agenda shows discussion of longevity pay, but we're going to jump to item 3 first, because I think this is more of fill in the blank information, and we're going to get that out of the way. I will tell you at the end of the meeting, we're going to have some old business and some new business here to discuss. We're not going to open the floor up for opinions or discussion or input or questions. What we would ask is if you do have any of those, you please right away email your liaison and we will handle them individually and address them at another meeting. So for the sake of someone not agreeing, not understanding, and we'll try our best to make it clear, but any concerns, problems, or questions, we'd like for you to address those via email. So, first item we're going to address is the 2025 budget dates and guidelines, so we can get the information sent out to the elected officials and the department heads on how to start preparing their budgets. We have all been corresponding via email and telephone calls and texts and going over calendars and budgets and ideas. It's been a lot of work put into this as we've gotten the numbers. I've gone back and forth. There's been no decisions made, but I am assuming everyone is here tonight with a firm opinion on what they would like to do based on all of the research and the time that we've put in it since the last meeting. So the information that I have, it has been recommended that the first reading be September 3rd and September 5th of 2024. Is that correct? Oh. Do I have to say that all over again? Sorry. Don't you hate that when that happens? So, first reading, I believe it has been, we've discussed September 3rd and September 5th of 2024 during the normal hours that we've used in the past. So has everybody looked at those dates and they agree with those? And Amy, I'm assuming you've looked at the calendar, and if there were problems, you would have let us know, correct? So Adam, should we discuss, there's like 6 or 7 items for this of information. Can we discuss them all at once and then make a motion?
Are they all related to
They're
the
all
budget dates and guidelines?
Yes.
That'd be fine.
Okay.
Just one motion is fine.
Okay. So first reading, September 3rd and September 5th, 2024. And it has been discussed and basically talked about the second reading being September 12th, 2024. So if any of you have any objections, let me know. We have our normal council meeting and to review, during our normal council reading, it was suggested we adopt the 2025 budget on October 14th. The Social Security rate for 2025, I believe, is 7.65%. And the 2025 perf rate is 11.2%. We've been working with the commissioners to get an amount for the health insurance. We have not heard back from them at this point. I believe Amy's goal is to have these guidelines out Monday. So hopefully we will have an exact amount from the commissioners. If not, I've instructed Amy to work with Barb to see if she could help get any information, but at the very minimum, use the figures that we had last year. But I do anticipate they may be a little higher.
Could you repeat those last 2 percentages, please?
Social Security rate is 7.65%. and the perf rate is 11.2.
Thank you.
You're welcome. New for the council this year, we have discussed and talked about doing a budget workshop. There's been lots of ideas tossed around, doing a couple of days with only 3 council people at a time, or doing a special meeting one day and then scheduling anybody that wanted to come in to come in. So I'm good with either way, but we need to decide at this meeting the date that we are going, the date or dates that we're going to do those budget workshops, and if they're going to be a public meeting, or if in fact they're going to be an administrative, there will be no votes taken. There will be, this is just purely for discussion. So we need to decide a date on those and what type of meeting it's going to be. I have no preference. I can do either one. I think we have more than 3 people that want to participate in those. So therefore, we probably will need a public meeting, correct? And I think if it was one of these that we plan a whole day, and I know that's hard for some of you in your schedule, I can appreciate that. I think we could probably get them all done, maybe not take a whole day. Because if someone's within all of the guidelines and have contacted their liaison and has worked out any bugs that they have, they really wouldn't need to come. So I'm going to open the floor now for
Yeah, no, okay.
you guys to discuss.
Well, this is Ron. We put out the.
Hang on, Ron, we can't hear you, hon. Hang on.
Can you hear me now?
Barely.
Okay. We had a memo that we approved and discussed, I believe back in
No,
April.
we're not hearing you, Ron. I'm sorry. Hang on. Are you? Is it on his end or our end, you think? Our end? Hang on, Ron, it's on our end.
Okay.
While we're waiting, is 912 gonna be also for the binding units? Like normal?
Yes, I'm sorry. Absolutely, yes. And based on years prior, the binding units would come, what is it? They come at, come like at 1 in the afternoon. Yes.
Do we know what time they're gonna start while we're getting ready? Or this started at 8 o'clock in the morning?
No, is it? It's at 8:30. Usually starts at 8:30 and then binding units come in at 1.
All right.
Not yet. I would tell you to go ahead, but honestly, no one can, you can't hear you at all.
Okay.
I wondered that a minute ago.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Try, I was gonna say call in on the cell phone and put it on a speaker. Try it, Ron.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
A little better.
Okay.
Speak
We had
loud.
a got it?
It's just going across the speaker there, that laptop.
Try it.
All right. Can you hear it?
Can you
There
guys
I
hear
am.
anything out there?
Ask Melinda. Ask Melinda, see how she.
Yeah.
Melinda, can we hear, can you?
Can you hear
Melinda's
me?
fine. Okay, can you hear Ron?
I can hear Ron.
Okay.
Okay, I'm up close to my mic. You hear me now?
Barely, speak loud. We'll start.
Okay. I can't normally speak loud. Okay. Back in April, we had a memo that talked about the dates for when they needed to submit it to Amy so she could get our books. And I'm assuming that's the memo we're talking about getting out once we decide the actual workshop dates.
Correct. The memo advising everyone what they need to do in order to start preparing their budget and getting it submitted. So the date that we need now is the date that we're going to be available to all office heads and directors prior to budget hearings to come in and discuss any special concerns or needs. So that's what we're discussing now.
I'm good with any date.
Okay, do you have a preference on one public day?
I believe it should be one public and as many can attend, do attend. I think it would be more than 3.
So the original due date for budgets was June 13th. If you guys push that to June 27th, I think we could have ClearGov more up to date that they could utilize. Because then you have the budget books be ready July 26th, and then you guys are gonna have the book workshops.
So if we push that date to what, June what?
27th.
Okay, June 27th, that gets everybody more time and it gets the new program up and running a little more. And budget books are anticipated to be completed when?
You guys can do them by July 26th.
Okay, so if we get them by July the 26th, that's a Friday. So we could conceivably do a workshop last 3 days in July, anytime that week after. So, I mean, that's
Could
just.
you repeat that date again, Amy? Your requested date?
It was June 13th, and she's saying if we extend it to June what? 27th for the departments to have their budgets in. Then she will have,
And that's a Thursday.
and then she will have budget books done by the 27th. And that way we would have everything we needed to do a workshop after June 27th.
Well, after July 26th.
I'm sorry, July 27th, correct.
July 26th.
Right, wrong month. So July, okay. So now we have to determine, do we want to do a special meeting? Or do we just want to do administrative meetings in the back room here with just three of the council?
I like the idea of a one-day public meeting so the public, anybody interested can understand what's going on.
Yeah, I've had that comment as well, Melinda. I have no preference. Ron has no preference. So if you four would like to speak,
Well,
please.
I have a preference. I think it should be all of us, but
Okay, so you're
Yeah.
all of us for a public meeting.
yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. You guys want to chime in here, please?
I would agree with Ron.
Okay.
Name the day.
Okay. But everybody's in agreement in a special meeting, a whole day, right? We're gonna have those books when, Amy? You said July 27th, 26th? That's a Friday. So we could do Monday, the 29th, the 30th, or the 31st?
Well, if we're not getting them now,
Are you saying of July?
Yeah. Yeah, we're not getting them until there, so,
this gives us the weekend to go over.
yeah, I know.
I was thinking,
How about early August?
yeah, that's what I'm thinking, you know, like,
I'm good with that, I'm good with that. So
Yeah.
anytime between the 5th through the 9th?
why don't we just do it August the 12th? They have a regular meeting,
And just be here all day?
be here all day.
Make a marathon out of it?
Yep.
You guys okay with that?
Well, hold on, when's
Yeah.
the meeting?
Oh, they have
Meeting's on the 12th.
a commissioners meeting at
Okay.
10. I wonder if we could start after the commissioners meeting. You think that might be enough time?
I'll bet it would be.
7 hours, I think that would be plenty of time.
Is there anything else on the calendar that day?
I'll go check our next book. 8:12.
Correct.
Yes. I will be too. So Amy, when we're done here, would you please read back what we've come up with on the dates and things? And then when the motion is made, it can be based on the information that we've talked about and what you have, so we're all on the same page.
In the meantime, Amy, I got a question. How's ClearGov going to be used this year? Is it going to be users that want to beta it, or are you going to use it administratively? What's the plan with ClearGov for this 25 budget year?
So things are progressing good. We just had a call with them at 3:30 today. They have all of our data in there. We just have to go through some training, look at it, get it, play with it. We haven't had time. So, hopefully utilize it enough to, the budget books to be printed from there. And hopefully by giving an extra 2 weeks, maybe most departments can input in there as well. So like during the workshops, you should be able to do the scenarios in ClearGov.
They're gonna start offering gonna come in with the classes starting when? Okay, okay. So what did the calendar look like?
There's nothing else on the 12th other than the commissioner meeting and then the council meeting at 6, so.
So how about we go 11 a.m. and then if it or just as soon as they're done?
That works for me.
Okay, may I ask a couple of questions?
Absolutely.
August 12th, public meeting. Who conducts the meeting? Who's going to present? Or is it just going to be a question and answer?
I don't know what you mean.
Will
I would-
everybody be given a presentation?
You mean the format? At this point, I'm under the impression this is not going to come and debate my budget.
No.
This is going to be, okay, I'm confused, or these are your guidelines. I'm way out of your guidelines, and I wanted you to know this prior to budget hearings, and this is why. That gives the liaison and whoever time to do whatever before the budget hearings. So, no, I don't know,
So it's a public meeting, but it's meant to be for the departments and the elected officials.
and anybody, exactly, but it's open to anybody that wants to come and.
Will they have the podium?
And can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Barely.
Okay, the purpose of that, if they had anything that was out of the ordinary, that was an exception to, if everything's as expected, then, we wouldn't have 10 or 15 minutes with each one. But if they had over and above then that would be available for discussion at the, discuss it.
I guess I'm confused as to why they wouldn't have the podium in a public meeting. So, yeah. No, yeah.
Hey, Amy, before you, can you guys on Zoom hear Amy when she's talking? Does she need your mic?
I can, but it's very faint.
Yeah, I can't hardly hear her.
So they can hear her.
Here, you can use my microphone if you want. I said nobody to the podium.
Suggestion. Once the guidelines are sent out tomorrow, is my goal, that gives them time to look at it, then maybe have a sign-up sheet on who wants to come before we actually post the special meeting. So like if you only have 3 departments that want to come, why are you guys gonna sit here for 6 hours?
That is an excellent idea.
So,
Excellent idea.
Could you introduce yourself, please? You state your name for the record.
It's an excellent idea, Amy. So, we'll go for the 12th. We don't have to advertise, but what, 24 hours in advance? 48. And we'll do a public meeting, but we'll determine the time after the guidelines are sent out and we get the response from, and then you can communicate via email and we can go from there. How does that sound?
I think it sounds great. I wanted to confirm September 3rd, 5th, and 12th. All those 3 days will start at 8:30 a.m. Is that correct?
Yes, that's what it's been in the past.
Okay.
Okay, so last item I have on my notes is all of the accounts ending in 2, 3, and 4. Those line items are everything except wages. In the past, we have had a limitation of a 5% increase and asked for a zero-based budgeting. And again, if you don't need it, don't ask for it. Don't ask for it. If you didn't use it last year and you're not aware you're going to use it this year, by all means, if you need it, ask for it. But don't ask for it just because that same $10,000 has been in that line item for the last 15 years and you've never used it. So that's my suggestion, is 5% limitation adjustment over last year's figures and then start with a zero-based budgeting. So your turn.
Second.
That's not a vote. So, and again, everyone keep in mind, we've all looked at these emails, we've all looked at these numbers, we've all had a chance to come up with different ideas or anything that wasn't appropriate. So I don't want you to think that we haven't discussed it. It has been, we have looked at this. So if anybody has anything else that they would like to bring into this other than the 5%, now would be the time.
Well, I think since we are statutorily limited to a 4% levy growth for this year and maybe next year, I say 4%.
Well, my concern is that,
Along with the zero-based budgeting.
Now, Melinda, we're talking about 2, 3, and 4s, right? We're not talking about any salaries.
you're right, okay.
You good for now?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. So, Mr. Dittmers?
I tend to agree with John, and I like the idea of it's needs-based rather than guidance-based. In other words, what you said,
Right.
Pam, is spot on. Say it's gonna be 4 or 5, and it's gonna be 4 or 5 across the board, because that's just the way it
Right.
has been in the past and so forth. To me, we cap it at 4, and if we say this, and then we'll figure out if it makes any sense or not, but if you need something more in one line, then normalize it in something else and look at it from the total in an aggregate number rather than by line.
Absolutely.
So we're talking about everything but salaries.
Everything but salaries, correct.
I'd agree with the 4%.
Okay, well, we're gonna take a motion shortly. Would you like to have something to say? I've got a 5 on the floor with no support. You sure you don't?
I make a second on that 5%.
What? Oh, okay. Okay, well, we haven't voted, no one's made a motion yet, so we're just trying to get a feel of what the majority is gonna be. People can always come back, and I don't encourage additional appropriations. You've heard me say time and again, if you need it, put it in there at budget time. So, but there's always additional appropriations if in fact there's an emergency and something is needed and they can't get it from somewhere else. But if you look at these budgets in the past, you're gonna find more often than not, a lot of that money rolls back to the general fund at the end. So I think with 4 we'll be okay, but
Yeah.
Ron? Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
Ron, do you have anything you'd like to say?
No, I'm fine with that.
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
So this is a recommendation? from
No,
council.
sir.
It's a mandate.
No, sir. In the past years, it has been said, this document that Amy is sending out is a recommendation. No, this is a guideline. It's not a mandate. It's not a recommendation. If these aren't followed, there's going to take some pretty strong reasons why, on my part, I don't know about the others, why it can't be followed. When in the 30-plus years that I've looked at this, when you say recommendation, you're all over the board. People think it doesn't matter. I want these to matter this year, so I'm saying they're a little stronger than a recommendation. These are your guidelines, and if you need to go outside of those guidelines, you're going to have to support that. That's my thought.
I agree strongly with that. I'm not sure what the proper word is. They aren't necessarily a guideline. They aren't necessarily a mandate, but they are certainly a high expectation by everyone to follow them.
I think popular opinion is the letter really means nothing and hasn't for a few years. This year, I'd like to enforce it does mean something. So, but we'll figure that out when we do the budget workshop, I guess. So, anybody else? Okay, Amy, will you read back, please, from these conversations, what you've come up with? And then, once you've read those, I'll be open for a motion if anyone is ready. Oh,
First reading, 9-3 and 9-5 at 8:30. Second reading, 9-12 at 8:30 with the binding units at 1 o'clock. Final adoption on 10-14, your regular council meeting. Social Security for 25 is 7.65%, PERF is 11.2%. Insurance will probably be raised from the 11.5, but we'll confirm that with the commissioners probably on Monday. The 2s, 3s, and 4s, kind of an overall 4% increase, but it's zero-based budget, need-based, I guess, I don't know how you want to word it.
ask for it if you need it, but if you don't need it, don't ask for it. I don't know how to put that any better, sorry.
So,
And those first two dates were 9-3 and 9-5.
yes.
And I'm assuming you will send copies of that to each of us, so we'll have it. Okay? That's everything that I have, unless someone else has something they need to discuss and want to put on here.
No.
What about the binding on the 14th? Is that at 5 o'clock?
Yes, if that's what you guys want, yes.
I'm asking because, I mean,
That's
she said normal meeting, but we usually do it before.
Right.
the budget, yes.
What we normally do during budget time, so it would be 5 o'clock. Thank
Okay.
you. Good catch.
The budgets are due to you, to the auditor's office at 6/27.
Be June 27th.
And we get them on the 26th of July.
Yep.
Okay.
I move we accept the dates that Amy brought up, as well as the 4% increase for supplies, other services and charges, and capital outlays 2, 3, and 4.
Second?
We have a first by John Mallers, second by JT Myers. All in favor?
Roll call vote.
Oh, roll call vote, Amy.
Ron Deere,
Aye.
John Myers,
Aye.
Jonathan T. Myers,
Aye.
Pamela Burton,
Aye.
John Mallers,
Aye.
John Dittmers.
Aye.
Melinda Griesimer.
Aye.
Passes. Thank you. You'll be back. Okay, the next item that we're going to discuss is longevity pay for employees. Again, I will say, there's been lots of scenarios run back and forth. There's been lots of things pitched, lots of ideas pitched. Many of the council have pointed out the good, bad, and the ugly for all of them. I, for one, appreciate all the hard work that everybody has put into this, doing this. So I'm going to start the discussion by giving my input, and then I'm going to open the floor for everybody else to discuss what they would like to discuss. So we also have received all of the numbers from our financial advisor, Mike Reuter, and based on the numbers that we received was all of the options that we threw back and forth. So in my view is that longevity pay rewards employees for their extended service and loyalty, boosts morale and retention. It acknowledges the value of experience and institutional knowledge, leading to enhanced productivity. And by recognizing long-term commitment, it fosters a dedicated and motivated workforce, ultimately benefiting both employees and county government. Now, I'm a longtime employee, so obviously I see it from both sides, as everyone up here brings a different perspective. And again, it's been a learning experience for me. There were several options that were looked at. One of the final options, and I'm digging for it as we speak, also, legal did provide us with a memo letting us know that it was within our realm of counsel to do this. So, these are my notes from the research that everyone provided. I'm not saying this is the way it's going to be, I'm just saying these are the notes that I came up with. That we do have the authority to initiate the employee longevity compensation. I suggest that after 3 years of continued full-time employment with any position throughout the county, longevity compensation calculation would begin on 12/31/25, calculating that date. The time accrued will be calculated on each individual's anniversary date. Elected officials will not be included in the compensation, longevity compensation. There will be no break in employment. The longevity time must be uninterrupted. The longevity compensation will be included in the salary ordinance. And a note I have in here that WIS will suggest a written policy once it's determined that the longevity compensation is going to be utilized, and that has not been determined at this point. It's pretty common throughout the county, so they won't be inventing the wheel to do this. More or less, it'll be a cut and paste for the policy. I understand there's probably gonna be individual situations that don't fit within the guidelines or special circumstances maybe, I don't know, but we're just gonna have to deal with those individually. I am not prepared to offer this moving forward every year. I think that needs to be a decision of the council. Council members change, the stability of the county changes, but for this year, that's basically what I suggested, and everyone got this suggested, and we worked together and separately, and I know that there's different ideas up there. But 1 to 3 years of service receives nothing. 4, 5, and 6, $300. 7, 8, and 9, $700. 10, 11, and 12, $1,100. 13, 14, and 15, $1,500. 16, 17, and 18, $1,800. 19, 20, 21, $2,100. 22, 23, and 24, $2,400. 25, 26, and 27, $2,700. 28, 29, 30, $3,000. 31, 32, 33, 34, and 35 years of service, $3,500. 36 years and more, $4,000. This is to be made, my suggestion, in one payment out of the council line items. So with all of the research that we've done throughout other counties, this is comparable. And with talking amongst ourselves and the many suggestions that were given, this is just a draft of my thoughts and ideas. So with my perspective, I'm going to turn it over now to everyone else. I'm sorry, that would be the longevity, and then with a 4.5% general raise. And the COLA is 4%. So those are my thoughts. So I'll shut up now. Whoever wants to go next.
Could I ask a question?
Oh, don't make it hard.
Do you know
I
how
had
much it'll cost?
Yes, I do know how much it'll cost. Somewhere in this paperwork. You probably have that figure as well, don't you?
I do not.
You do not? We all had it.
514.
514,000, is that what it was? $514,000 is what it will cost. And according to Mr. Reuter, our overall 6% amount that we had, that will cover that. I have emails of several opinions by several of the council members. I have an example from Mr. Deere, but I'm going to let them talk about that. So that's the information that I brought to the table. So somebody go next.
I have a question. So this year, for the budget year, the employees are to expect a cost of living of 4%.
4.5. I propose 4.5, but yes, the COLA is 4.
Okay, COLA is 4, maybe 4.5. And then you're saying a 4% on top of that?
No, I propose that the general raise is 4.5.
Okay,
And in addition to the longevity.
okay.
For 2025.
2025, yes, 2025. Thanks, Ron.
I guess I would rather see, in my opinion, I'd rather see a higher yearly raise and forego the longevity pay because I think it wasn't the goal for us to get them up to be comparable with other counties. And I would like to see our county probably a better pay than other comparable counties so that perhaps we can draw talent to our county. And that would kind of take care of the longevity pay need.
Anything else? Anything else you want to add?
I don't know, Ron. I don't know. That's kind of what my thought, because it's permanent. I'm looking for something more permanent.
Yeah,
I know it does
what-
affect their retirement,
yeah.
and it does affect, I mean,
So if I'm understanding you correctly, you want to, you want to totally eliminate rewarding anybody with longevity and go with just a straight percentage raise across the board. As far as our pay being comparable and having talented people, I think we're there, Melinda. I think we're there. But you're saying you're no longevity and just go for a raise for everybody the same across the board.
so you're saying that our wages for our county are comparable.
Are comparable, yes, ma'am, I am.
And that's going to be determined if you fund in 2025 an updated salary analysis.
Right. And that's another discussion we'll have when we get through this. So just so everybody out here is clear, you're saying eliminate the longevity and go with the straight percentage raise.
I guess I'm not saying that.
Okay.
Because I was thinking that our county pay was not comparable.
Well-
Comparable to other comparable counties,
Yeah.
so.
You can look at the fact book and you can look at the information provided by AIC and individual departments and things, and it's not, we're pretty comparable. No, not to the private sector, but to other counties, this size and things, yes, you're pretty comparable.
Well,
And
if
some,
you,
for instance, that I would even venture to say at the top of the scale.
okay, well, if that's where, you know, if that's where you think we're at, I mean,
Well, you do your own research because
I would like, yeah.
you do your own research and then make up I mean,
I'm not against longevity pay. I just want something that's gonna be more permanent.
gotcha.
Okay, I just want to remind everybody, back when we started the Personnel Committee, one of the top issues that come up by the Personnel Committee members, that things we needed to address, in their opinion, was longevity pay. That's why I've moved forward with my proposals during all this time. And I think it's very clear that I'm supportive of what Pam said.
I need to see a hand. Somebody up here's got to talk.
Well, okay, I will. What I don't agree with the longevity, it's year to year. So basically, to me, I look at it as a stipend. I rather give them the cash that goes with their salary every year instead of splitting and say, okay, this year you're getting 4%, but you're getting longevity. Next year, we don't know. So really, they're coming out on the short end.
Right,
If you give them the money that goes towards their pension and everything,
right.
if you want to do a longevity, put it in an ordinance where it's in there, that it goes towards their retirement also. I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I agree with longevity, but not the way that this is year to year. I don't agree with. Just give them the money.
Okay.
I agree with that. I agree with actually, I mean, one of the stated reasons for longevity was, well, there's several, but one of them was morale. And if you're gonna have something that is here one year, gone the next, potentially, that doesn't help morale, in my opinion. So I agree with Melinda and John on that. The other thing is retention, and I think waiting 3 years for $300 is not going to be something that I think helps retain anybody. On top of the fact that I don't hear, or I haven't heard, a whole lot of problems with retention or being able to bring people in here. So it kind of strikes me as a solution without, or as a solution without a problem. You know, I guess I'd rather figure it out with wages, whether it's some sort of matrix of the wages that we tried to talk about early on in the personnel committee, or something, but we figure out wages properly and ranges and whatnot, and adjust people that you want to adjust who have more longevity or seniority, and do it through wages as opposed to something that may be there one year and not to the next. And what's the cost of that gonna be? That's inconsistent or unreliable, what that cost is gonna be from year to year. I think, you know, if we're gonna have special meetings on important issues, I think it needs to be on road funding. I think it needs to be on figuring out the edit and, that edit tax and borrowing against that and talking about those issues rather than this. It's my opinion.
Yeah. For the most part, I agree with what John just said. I think Ron and I started out on this personnel committee, and we went down this path with longevity. And to start with, I was supportive, and the more I thought about it, the more I thought, I agree with the concept, but as a practical matter, I'm not sure the impact is going to be what it's designed to do. I'm not sure we have a retention problem. I don't know that we don't, but everybody's got a turnover, so I'm not sure this is going to do it, nor do I think that it's meaningful enough to keep somebody from particularly moving into private sector where pay may be higher. So I think we ought to, and I really think, back to what Pam said about where we fit in terms of competing counties or other counties. Last year, we made significant strides to try to normalize that and to try to address that issue. So to me, this ought to be more of a normal year in terms of just simply figuring out what kind of merit increase we want to go with. And my number was wasn't far off 4.5%, but it was 4%. I'm sure that's a popular point of view, but that's what my point of view is. I think that's probably comparable with what market rates are in the private sector. And I realize this is not private sector, but that's where my mind is.
Thank you.
Can I also just say one more thing? Perhaps.
Absolutely.
Perhaps just increase the, for this year, the employee salaries to 5% and call it good.
Okay, Mr. JT, you're up. You're at bat.
Well, I appreciate what you've done, Pam. You've done a lot of work on this. Thank you. And we've narrowed it down to 514,000. That's quite a bit better than what we started with. I'm still troubled with it. I'm torn between the pros and the cons. Any con we do is going to be an insult to our employees that have been around a long time, and I don't want to do that. And we want to reward them. Oops, cut out. One of the things that bothers me about this is we give it to the employees and then taxes are taken out. So it doesn't quite make sense in that regard. And I think there are other ways that we can put this money, if we're wanting to do this, towards benefits. And I think something that's going to help our senior employees and our tenured employees is going to be something like a prescription plan, a better prescription plan in insurance or something to that effect. So I think $514,000, Pam, I totally agree with you. These long-term employees deserve something. And, but I don't think that this one-time situation is, I'm just not for it.
Okay.
Yeah, can I make one other
yeah.
comment? John's point on net of tax is a good one, but I also think that an aggregate of 514,000 is not insignificant, and because we can doesn't necessarily mean we should, because we have other uses for these dollars, as John pointed out, that we really need to get after as far as planning is concerned. And every dollar matters, and but I think we don't want to get so comfortable with the fact we have dollars available that we put programs in place that aren't necessarily not necessarily necessary. It's not really articulated particularly well, but that's kind of what's in my mind. And the last thing I'll say is, if we've got these long-term employees, there's a reason they're here. Without having to, we can appreciate them without doing it monetarily. And I would argue that if we've got a 15, 20, 25, 30-year employee, they like it here, they're working here, and we should appreciate them every single day without going to a program that rewards them monetarily.
Okay.
Can-
Thank you, everyone.
What would something like a prescription plan cost if we went that
That's
route?
that's under the purview of the commissioners.
I just have one,
I'm sorry, go
Now,
ahead.
have one final comment. There's no guarantee of longevity pay being funded, nor is there a guarantee that any council will grant a 4% increase or a 1% increase. Nothing's guaranteed.
Right. I do want, and I've got it on my fancy notes, as you pointed out a while ago, here, after we finish up with longevity and then the pay increase. Next year, we'll be doing some work with WIS, and on my notes, I show that we are going to be working with them, as you guys discussed in the Personnel Committee, on the matrix for the staging of the salaries. So that is in the works for the 2026 budget, but to work with them next year. I know at one point, an avenue that was asked was reclassification of positions, and when it was just done last year. And we had 64 elected officials and directors wanting jobs reclassified. My opinion on that is everybody works hard and everybody cross trains, and I think that everybody was doing everything they could to get the maximum dollar for the work that their employee is doing, as they should. But that also, the job reclassifications is something that is on the agenda for WIS, along with the matrix for 2026 budget. So I would suggest this not be something that we individually pick and choose as to who gets that done and who doesn't. There's been lots of talk about first deputies and chief deputies and second chief deputies, and this one being paid that, this one being paid that, this one being paid more than this one. Well, there are different work levels for different chief deputies and different first deputies. And one of the other things that has been discussed in the Personnel Committee for 2026 is rather than trying to determine this person works harder than this person who has more responsibility than this person, there would be a study that we would have WIS look into the percentages for the first deputies based on the salaries of the elected officials, and then see where we stand there. So, and just picking a number, if an elected official is making $100,000 and the first deputy, in all realization from the consultant, says they should be making 75% of that, then let's see where we stand. And I think that's what was discussed, and that's all in the works for next year to work with WIS. So this council, and next year's my final year before reelection, if I choose to run again. So we have next year to work on it, and I will guarantee you that this is something I will push, is to move forward with the matrix and the first deputies and the chief deputies and that type of stuff. And I think we're all in agreement on that. So back to the longevity. Adam, should we take a vote whether we choose to move forward with longevity or not? And then based on that vote, move on to the next business of general raise? What would be the best way to do that?
I think that's fine. Probably would make sense to either move forward or kill the longevity pay, and then also on that, there was, last I heard, there was potentially 4 options.
Yes, there were 4 options.
I've only heard the one option is laid out by President Burton, so, but yeah, y'all can take a vote on
The one
longevity
option
pay.
that I laid out was basically a combination of the other 3, eliminating the elected officials and tweaking the time of service, which brought the numbers down to make it fit within what the financial advisor said. So the other 3 are basically that, only more.
No, it's fine. I'll just
Okay.
make a comment if there's any other.
Yeah, so if anybody wants to go over those, they're welcome to, but that's what the number 4 option was, so. So I guess I should open the floor now for a vote, or I'm sorry, a nomination? A motion, thank you, a motion to move with longevity or not to move with longevity pay for the 2025 budget?
I make a motion to move forward with the longevity as presented by President Pam Burton.
I'm going to second it. Amy, will you do a roll call from the podium, please?
Stay over there.
Ron Deere,
Aye.
Melinda Griesimer,
Nay.
John Myers,
No.
John Dittmers,
No.
Jonathan T. Myers,
No.
and John Mallers,
No.
Pam Burton.
Yes.
Motion fails.
Motion fails. So the next order of business will be a general raise for the 100 series for all employees across the board in their line items. And we've discussed different amounts, so I guess, ready for a motion.
I'll make a motion for 5%.
Melinda has made a motion for 5% for general pay increase for the 2025 budget for all line items. I need a second.
I'll second it for discussion.
So we need a roll call vote first or further discussion first?
Further discussion first.
Is there any further discussion?
Well, I was thinking, again, since our levy growth is limited to 4%, would be making this 4%, at least that's one of 7, in my opinion. There's a lot of priorities. Obviously, I want the employees, to be fulfilled and happy and all that sort of thing, and that's obviously very important. But again, it doesn't seem to be a big retention problem or hiring problem. You mentioned that we are pretty much in line with other counties, and, we found out earlier this year, or maybe late last year, there's 300 and some odd million in road funding, or road issues, and every dollar counts. I know it's not necessarily the same money, but I think every dollar counts, and I think we need to, just because you can, like John said, just because you can spend it, it's easy to spend other people's money, and just because you can do something doesn't necessarily mean you have to, so I thought 4%.
Mr. Dittmers? Your opinion?
4 is my number.
John?
I thought we should go with the Mike Roder's recommendation on the 6%. It's in there. We can do it. I think we need to take care of our employees, continue to bring them up.
JT?
I stand with the 4. We've made great strides in past years, and it's time that we settle into the pace.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor of 5%. Amy, would you take a roll call vote, please?
John Dittmers,
No.
John Mallers,
No?
Pam Burton,
Yes.
Jonathan T. Myers,
No.
John Myers,
Yes.
Melinda Griesimer,
Yes.
Ron Deere.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-3.
Okay, so in your guidelines, Amy, it's 5% across the board for each line item for employees. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to add? Nope. You folks online, you have anything you'd like to add?
No.
Okay, any old and new business? Nope. Okay, open for a motion for adjournment?
I move we adjourn.
Motion.
Does Melinda have a question?
Oh,
Did you have a question?
I just made a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
I second that motion.
Okay.
Do we have to have a roll call vote for adjournment? All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.
No, they're gonna be lonely.
That's right.